Yo, what's up everybody? How's it going? Welcome to Dota History. That's what I'm gonna call this. Name pending, we'll see. But today we are watching another classic game, Tai Lu versus OK Nirvana International. Now, you might be wondering, Baumi, didn't we watch this game last time? I remember clearly watching Tai Lu versus Nirvana. Yes, but we watched Nirvana China, which is a separate team actually. At this tournament, Nirvana had two separate teams, the Chinese team and the international team. So this is still Tai Lu versus Nirvana, but it is Tai Lu versus a different team. Alright, cool. Now I did some research and I have found a list of heroes that was playable or that were playable in this tournament. If you want to have a quick look, right? I have our hero statistics here, and you can see these are this is a complete list of all the heroes that were available at TI1. You might say, well, Baumi, that doesn't sound like a lot. That's like 47, 46 heroes. Yeah, there just weren't that many heroes available. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll just go ahead and watch this and have a good time. Lich being picked up as the first hero. Now, this is actually part of the reason why I was looking forward to watching this match with you all. Because there's a Lich, and Lich is a really interesting hero that has a lot of interesting history. That these days I think he flies a little under the radar. Because these days he's just kind of like, I slow things. Ha ha ha, I slow things. But that's not what Lich was for 90% of Dota history. Lich was mostly known for being the absolute lane controlling monster. The best lane controlling hero in the game by far. That's what Lich was about. And that's also why you see Lich being picked up as a first pick in this drafting stage. And I just think that's really interesting, right? Because that's a hero that's really actually changed quite a lot. Now, a lot of heroes in Dota, they have changed over the years because, you know, like, the design was kind of whack. Like they were just kind of whack. So, you know, like, they needed some updating to feel a bit more modern, to feel a bit more unique, maybe even. You know, there were quite a few repeated abilities. Honestly speaking, for a long time, Finger of Death and the Guna Blade were just the same abilities. They were just the exact same spells. And they're still pretty similar, but they're not the same anymore. So there's at least been some adjustments made there. But yeah, Lich, however, is a hero who has the prestigious honor of being reworked. Not because he, you know, had a problem with his playstyle. I actually think his playstyle was kind of interesting. But because they just couldn't balance the guy. He was just so fundamentally broken. Like, everything that he did needed to either be unusable so that he's not overpowered, or needed to or it was overpowered, right? You always had to nerf it either to complete garbage, or there just wasn't a way to really make it be reasonable. So eventually they just gave up and they reworked his abilities, and that's how we end up with today's Lich. I'll explain what his abilities are in a second, but first we gotta kind of have a look at the other heroes here. So Mirana is one of the first spans here. Let me actually scoot down my face, apologies. So you can see Mirana is one of the first spans here. Mirana is very powerful and very popular in this tournament, but she's primarily played as a safe lane carry. That's her primary role, and you hardly see her as anything else. Which, again, might seem a little weird. To be honest, Mirana wasn't that different back then compared to how she is today. The main thing that's different about her is just kind of the environment, and I suppose her arrow was a bit more generous back in the day, as in it was a bit easier to really get value out of it. Oh, Crystal Main being picked up. Well, I wonder what these lanes are then. Crystal Main being picked up, so there's a Slaughter and an Earthshaker. One of those two is probably going to be a core. Maybe both? Little weird, but we'll see. On the other side, we got Necrolite coming out. Yes, he was still called Necrolite back then, not Necrophos. Necrophos came much later. And Night Stalker being picked up, very interesting. Night Stalker, a nice aggressive hero. I wonder if he had his Aghanim Scepter at this point in time. We'll see. And there's Enchantress. So, I think this would be a pretty unconventional draft for modern standards, wouldn't it? Look at this. There's like no hero that I would traditionally describe as like a main carry. We've got a bunch of heroes that are gonna fill those roles. Necrophos, or Necrolite, is going to probably be the safe lane carry for Tai Lu. And we've got, in all likelihood, the Night Stalker being the safe lane carry for Nirvana. However, Nirvana might actually opt to play an offensive tri-lane here because their lineup is very strong in that regard. And instead of trying to have their carry farm up safely, they're going to try to shut down the enemy carry right away. Now, why was Lich so noteworthy? What did he have? Well, his Q was pretty much the same as it is today. There's hardly anything changed. I think it had more of a focus on initial damage as opposed to the AoE damage, but it was pretty much the same ability. His W was slightly different. Instead of applying a short-term duration... Oh, we've got a bit of a fight. I don't know. Not the best Fisher, to be honest. Seems that's going to be the end of that. His W was slightly different. Instead of applying a short-term duration buff, it applied a long duration buff. So today's is a very powerful, deals some damage, even applies an AoE slowing effect, but it only lasts 6 seconds. Back in the day, Lich's armor, ice armor, worked pretty much exactly like the ice armor from the neutral creep, where it has a really long duration, gives bonus armor, and if you attack the Lich while it is active, or if you attack the hero, whoever the ice armor is on, while it's active, you get slowed both in attack speed and movement speed. Now that in of itself also actually not that interesting. Not really that exciting. What made Lich exciting then? His E. Sacrifice. Sacrifice was an absolutely incredible ability that eventually they just gave up on trying to balance it and they just removed it from the game. Sacrifice did two things. It killed an allied creep and then it gave you mana based on their current health. That's it. You just chose one of your creeps and you killed it and you gain mana. That doesn't necessarily sound all that impressive right away, does it? But it was incredibly powerful because it made it so that the hero could deny creeps without needing to go into lane. The creep wave spawned in and he sits at his tower and denies one of the creeps out. And denies it from full HP, which means that he's got an incredibly easy time pulling the creep wave back over and over and over again. While the opponent can't really do much to challenge that. Because it's not like you can interact with Sacrifice. Now in this particular tournament, this tournament is played on patch 6.72D. Sorry, no, 7.0 is gonna be a little bit. Now we've got a few more internationals ahead of us before we get to that. But Sacrifice in 6.72D actually had a cooldown of 35 seconds at level 1, which meant that Lich could deny nearly every creep wave. Right, and you saw it right there. You saw how that creep just kind of disappeared, just takes it down. Now, the primary use of Sacrifice is to deny the enemy experience and pull the creep wave back. In some patches, Sacrifice also actually gave you bonus experience, which I'm not sure if that was a thing in this patch, but for a little while I know that for sure. Maybe we need to look that up really quick. Let me just go ahead and do that on the other screen. So, let me scoot myself up as well. So, Sacrifice was mostly used just for pulling back the lane, but it does a really, really good job at it. If you pay attention to the minimap here, you can see in the bottom lane, the Lich is safely sitting under his tower, although safely might be an overstatement considering he's currently dying. Ooh, buddy, you didn't need to turn around there. Well, at least you get a return kill. Could be worse, I suppose. So Sacrifice. Sacrifice for... No, Sacrifice just killed the creeps. They are... Okay. Oh, there's actually... Yeah, no, it says right here. All allied heroes within the experience range share experience from the unit killed by sacrifice. Units killed by sacrifice do not count as denied. Enemies do not gain experience from the unit. So you can see, like, those two factors alone make it so that Lich has such an easy time denying the enemy their game plan. Right? It shuts them down without needing to really do anything. You just use your E over and over and over again. It was one of the best laning abilities. And absolutely incredibly powerful. So this is why we have the Lich just kind of solo laning down here. Because the Lich has it safe. To be honest, I think the Lich could have survived that last fight. There was really no reason to turn around to get the blast. I mean, I guess it resulted in a kill. But in all likelihood, Lich could have just walked out if he hadn't gone for that. We also got an interesting laning situation here. So this is actually a surprising counter strategy that was sometimes done. Yes, no, this is definitely not just like a weird, oh my god, what are they doing? But more like, oh no, this is a known strat. So in this metagame, the most popular way of playing, the standard way of playing, is a tri-lane, where you have 3 heroes in a lane protecting a carry. So, well, you have 2 supports and then the carry, right? But like, it's all about the one carry out of those 3 heroes. Then you have your suicide lane. That's what the off lane used to be called. It wasn't the off lane, it was the suicide lane. Because it was called that because you would go there to die. And then of course you had your mid, which wasn't really that different from how it is today. Right? Suicide lane played into the tri lane, and the mid was just a one-on-one matchup. The thing about this setup is that it made it really difficult to take down the enemy carry. Now, there were 2 primary ways that, like, I guess there were 3 primary strategies to go up against a tri-lane. The first one was to just play a tri-lane yourself. You just have your own carry, you just farm up your own carry, and that's it. You just play the standard strat. The second one was an aggressive tri-lane, where you build your own tri-lane, but yours with better fighting heroes for the early game. And then you send your tri-lane against their tri-lane and you just try to beat them directly. This was incredibly risky because it made it so that if you lost that fight, you usually lost the entire game on the spot. So teams didn't like doing that as much. That was just not something that was very popular. Again, because it just was very, very risky. Finally, there was a 2-2-1 strat, where you have your one hero on the suicide lane still going up against the tri-lane. But instead of playing your own tri-lane, you say, well, there is a solo hero in the other 2 lanes. So in theory, as long as we just put 2 heroes to go up against them, we should beat them, right? 2 heroes will beat 1 hero. That makes sense. So the 2-2-1 strategy was built entirely around that idea. It was built entirely around the idea of, you know what? We're going to give up the suicide lane. Whatever, you win that anyway. But we are going to make sure that we win the other 2 lanes. So we're going to put 2 heroes in the mid and 2 heroes into our safe lane. And that way, we really dominate those lanes. Now, it does also mean that you very much encourage the enemy to rotate around a lot, which is why we've seen Tai Lu be very active, right? This setup makes it so that the safe lane isn't as protected as it would normally be. And the suicide lane, the off lane, well, you don't need to worry about that anyway. Like, that guy isn't gonna really do much. Your carry has more farm. And, you know, like, you run in occasionally and get the kill, so you're fine there. The 2-2-1 setup was vulnerable to ganks from the 2 supports, so it was kind of difficult to play. But if you managed to just overwhelm the other 2 lanes, then you could usually win based off the back of that. I don't know. I find this stuff really interesting. It's fascinating, isn't it? I don't know. So, something that we also see here, by the way, is we see a lot of vanguards. At this point in time, there were 2 problems. I've watched quite a few games of this now. So there's like 2 things that I've noticed. First of all, heroes just don't level up as quickly. They just don't get as much money. Like, you're just all around poorer. which means that you deal less damage, which means that an item like Vanguard brings much more value to the table, right? It's like a cheaper item that's just very cost effective. Cost efficiency is king during this era. The second factor why Vanguard is really good and really popular is there is no good item for mana regeneration. It just doesn't exist. If we look at today's meta, the two items that are very nice for mana regeneration, or I guess let's have a list of what helps fix mana. Bottle, okay, cool, bottle would be good. Problem is there's one rune spawn every 2 minutes and that's it. Oh, range. Such a huge cast range on a magic missile, no goddamn cast point either. But there is no, there's really not the same amount of runes, so you can't really make, oh, nice bounce. Ah, bad bounce. The first bounce was good, the second one not so much. But you can't make the same... Wait, does the Enchantress have Impetus? Oh, she's level 6. I was like, what? No, Impetus was the ultimate at this point in time. So anyway, but they just weren't enough runes to support multiple heroes with a bottle. You didn't have bounty runes, you didn't have water runes. There was one rune spawn every 2 minutes. And usually your mid had the bottle. Right, you just couldn't really support having more than one bottle. There just wasn't enough stuff to bottle. Okay, what about a raindrop? That didn't exist. Okay. Well, today's mana items, like they are usually Echo Saber, which didn't exist. Falcon Blade, which didn't exist. Okay. What about Null Talisman? Didn't give mana regen. But does that give mana regen today? I'm actually not sure. I think it does. Okay, well, what else could there be? Ring of Aquila. Nope. Didn't exist. I know. But there is no Aquila in this tournament. Doesn't exist. Yeah. So you could get a Basilisk, but if you get a Basilisk, you're spending 500 gold on an item that doesn't really do anything. Right? It's just not actually that helpful. So, my core message here is you could buy mana regen. Of course. I'm not saying it's impossible to have mana regen. You could get a Perseverance, or you could get a Basilisk, or you could get a Sobi Mask. There is stuff you can do, but there wasn't anything that is great. You know? Pretty much everything was kind of expensive or built into stuff you didn't necessarily care about or didn't build into anything. And again, keep in mind, gold efficiency is king. You need to be gold efficient because you just don't have as much money. You couldn't just buy an item and then say, whatever, I'll sell it later. That's gonna be a significant portion of your net worth for pretty much the entire game. Now, Soul Ring is a good question. I don't know Soul Ring existed at the time. This is maybe something we gotta look up really quick. So let me just go to Soul Ring. But even Soul Ring is like 1,000 gold, right? Like that's kind of expensive. That's not that easy to just have. Alright, Soul Ring. Oh, change logs. 6.67. I think it was available. Yeah, let me check something really quick. Somebody found this right here, which is a list of the items that were available during this tournament. And I'm just gonna go ahead and give that a quick look over if we can find if I can find a Soul Ring. Is this sorted by? Yeah, it's sorted by. Yes, no, there it is. Okay, so Soul Ring is available, right? So you can see here, this is the Soul Ring icon. Soul Ring did exist, but even a Soul Ring is kind of expensive, right? And that's 1,000 gold. And as I've already mentioned, that much money is difficult to get. So the core takeaway here, the thing that I really want you to take away from this is I don't want you to find a solution to the mana problem. Mana was just a problem. You just didn't have as much mana back in the day, which meant that your spells were really important. You didn't have the luxury of just kind of throwing out a spell and then, you know, like calling it a day, whatever, no big deal, I'll just use it again when I have it. When you're playing Slaughter, you have 3 crushes, and that's it. You don't really get a 4th one, you just have 3 crushes. Now, this might not exactly be true for Nirvana here because they have a Crystal Maiden which supports that, but because you only have such a limited amount of spells, items like Vanguard were incredible. Vanguard in particular is insane because your opponents run out of damage pretty quickly, and at that point, well, what are they gonna do to kill you? They're gonna attack you. Right? That's the only option they have. They just don't have enough mana to throw their spells anymore, so they just have to hit you. And that's where your Vanguard keeps you going and keeps you tanky. So it's an incredibly powerful defensive item, and really had a huge impact on these matches. Oh my god! LC Pro! How about LC Scrub? What are these bounces? Come on, buddy. You gotta play a little better than that. Oh, 1437, gonna go ahead and just waddle on out of there. You get to freedom, my friend. You get yourself... Oh no! My soul. Okay, the Vengeful Spirit goes down, and they're gonna go ahead and take down the Pugna as well.
Don't worry, not one piece of gristle shall I waste.
So, anyhow, the thing is that in this era, right, items like Vanguard and generally tanky items were incredibly valuable. Because you could win a fight by just kind of running your opponent out of mana. I mean, think about that. Like at TI 10, how many fights were won by a team being out of mana? Were there any that you can recall? Was that like, that just isn't a problem you have in modern Dota? Right? It's not that mana isn't a problem, like particularly in the laning stage, you do need to keep mana in mind. But people can build stuff that gives them the mana they need, and from that point on, you tend to be fine. You just tend to have enough. That's not true back here. You could win entire team fights just off the back of running your opponent out of mana. And yeah, Blink Dagger also costs 75 mana, which is a part of the reason why it's not very popular. Like, I know that may seem wild, but Blink Dagger, while you did see it and people did buy it, it wasn't necessarily the most commonly bought item just because it costs 75 mana to use, and turns out using 75 mana just for movement and 2000 gold, oh, that is so expensive, dude. 2000 gold, I could buy a Vanguard. And yes, that is the comparison you have to make in this era. I know, this all feels very strange, doesn't it? Slaughter Bash at this point in time, by the way, was just a chance-based bash. So it wasn't very popular. I wouldn't even be surprised if the Slaughter doesn't skill it at all. Alright, we are pushing. We are pushing. The Necrophos is frontlining. I wonder what the Necrophos picked up. Probably like general defensive items, but like I wonder what defensive items in particular. Alright, we got a quick little stun. Pike up, taking some damage. There's the Reaper's Scythe, but not quite enough. Yeah, Reaper's Scythe didn't have the very generous stun duration it has today. And with that, Pikeart actually gonna be fine. And they're gonna try to chase down the Clockwork and DD on the retreat. Got a TP out from our Necrophos hero already. And you can see here that Fear... Oh, that's Fear.
You did your best.
Oh, that's fun. I just... Oh. Okay. Anyway, so Fear... on the Night Stalker here, being very careful with his mana pool. Alright, like you saw in the last fight, like he did have another another Q ready, but opted to not use it because he just wasn't sure if it was needed. And, you know, if it's not needed, do you really go for it? Alright, Necrophos, we see the items. That's a Hood of Defiance and Power Treads, as well as a Magic Wand. You may notice, Necrophos has an ability that you might not be used to. That is Sadist. Sadist was Necrophos' second passive for a very long time. Yes, the hero didn't just have one passive, he had two. You might be wondering, well, what does Sadist do? It does pretty much what Heartstopper Aura does these days. It's just the same ability merged into one. Heartstopper Aura did Heartstopper Aura stuff. Sadist did Sadist stuff. Heartstopper Aura is the damage loss per second. Sadist is the when you kill something you get healed. Today's modern Heartstopper Aura just has both effects in one. Back in the day, those were two separate abilities. And you still pick Necro, because it turns out that that's fine. At the time, that was really helpful. That was plenty. Mostly, big reason here, Necro didn't have mana problems. Do you see how it all kind of falls into place? Like why these like weaker, these things where we look at them today and we're like, this seems kind of weak. But they made sense at the time. Necro didn't have mana problems. He just didn't have to worry about that. And that was incredibly helpful because it allowed him to farm in a way that like almost no other hero could. So while the hero himself, he may not have been the strongest, he definitely wasn't. He had the ability to farm like an absolute god, and that made it very difficult to deal with him. On top of that, his Reaper's Scythe, of course, is oftentimes a guaranteed kill, which is really handy. Very nice, very nice. Okay. Nice little swap right there. Bounce, unfortunate. Oh, okay. Still gonna be enough to take down the Venge. We have a Woke coming in as well. The Enchantress does quite a lot of damage. Gonna be frozen up. Necro is here though. Running in. Alright. Hook shot, okay. Power Cogs, no mana. Again, mana is a problem. We have the mana boots coming in, but didn't quite end up doing anything. Reaper Scythe was used, but not enough for a kill again. So I wonder what the Necro's actually going for you. You can see the Lich picking up a mecha. Also a very powerful item in this era because, as I've been explaining for the past 20 minutes, but your resources were very limited. So if you could just kind of keep your team alive for another 10 seconds with the mecha, that might be enough to win the fight. Did Reaper's Scythe disable Buyback this time around? I don't think so. I would have to check. And this is going to be a bit more difficult to find, but Necrophos's Reaper's Scythe. Okay, let me see really quick. Sadist, Diffusion Aura, Heartstopper now. Okay, I don't know. Sorry, it's gonna be difficult to check exactly when Necrophos gained the Reaper's Scythe Aghanim's effect that disabled Buyback. Alright, I'm just checking here really quick. No, this was added in 6.78. So at this point in time, Reaper Scythe did not disable Buyback yet. Yes. No, it doesn't quite do that at this point in time. Few more patches to go. Probably next TI, that will be a thing. Oh, the absolute powerhouse delete button, like it has never existed. There have been quite a few delete buttons in the history of Dota, but I think the most definitive one is still and will always be that big Aghanim's Reaper Scythe that just straight up killed you out of the match. Right, mid tower gonna be going down. Towers are very valuable during this time because you just don't have as much mobility, right? You do not have a Blink Dagger in all likelihood. As you can see, nobody has money for Saint and Yasha. Mobility was just a bit lower. There were no outposts to teleport to, so you really just needed to make sure that you actually had access to the map. And that's where the mid tower was really valuable. So oftentimes team would put a lot of effort into defending the mid tower to make it so that you can, retain that map control. I'm gonna watch TI1 and TI2 and 3 as well after TI1. Yes, we're gonna watch all of them. Like, okay, here to present to you the scope of my project here. We are going to watch all of the internationals and all of the games at all of the internationals. Yes, every single one of them. This will take a while. Now for YouTube, we're gonna pick out whichever ones end up being fun. I think this so far has been a very interesting game, so I'm happy to upload this. But yeah, no, that's absolutely my plan. It will take forever, and this is just gonna be what we do. Although I'm probably not gonna watch every single one of them on stream. I'm not sure about that. Players or qualifiers and groups too. No, we're not watching groups. Sorry, we're not watching qualifiers. That would, I think, be going too far, but we will be watching the group stages. I mean, this is currently group stages. Maybe a quick word about the format of this tournament. So this is a best of one match, because everything in this tournament is a best of one. Like, nearly goddamn everything. There's exactly 4 sets of games that aren't best of one. And that is winners finals, losers semis, losers finals, and then grand finals is a best of 5. Only grand finals best of 5, everything else is a best of 3. Sorry, just to be clear. Alright, Lich ultimate bouncing, doing a good amount of damage. I think that's probably the best ultimate we've seen so far. Slaughter on the retreat, no BKB yet, so we need to be a little bit careful. At this point in time, the Slaughter sprint was a bit difficult to use because it increased how much damage you take. So it didn't have the bonus movement speed and water, and it made it so that you are more vulnerable. So you needed to be careful. You can't just like run into a fight willy-nilly. You're gonna take a lot of damage. Can we talk about how Magic Wand stood in meta since Dota 1 is one of the best items and it's well showcased? Why in a lot of TIs? Well, Magic Wand is one of those items where it's like intentionally overpowered. Right? Like, Magic Wand exists because it's hype for the early game. Because it's a fun item, and it feels good, and it makes for good spectacle, and it, you know, makes it so that people can actually do stuff in the early game, because it fixes a lot of the mana issues. But that is not to say that Magic Wand is balanced. For how much it costs, Magic Wand is very, very much OP. It's just not that expensive, and with these lower end items, you can oftentimes kind of like let that slide, like whatever. Let Magic Wand be OP, it makes the game more fun, and it's not going to have a huge impact on the late game. Scythe disabling buyback makes Necro a fucking nightmare late game. Oh, Necrophos, or Necrolite, apologies, was one of the scariest heroes once he got that upgrade. Alright, right now both teams are just kind of taking it a bit easy. Yeah, Night Stalker working towards an Aghanim Scepter. Now, Night Stalker's ultimate at this point in time had 2 effects. First of all, it made it night, and secondly, it reduced enemy vision by, I think, 20%?
Radiant's top tower is
that's
under
it.
attack.
Yeah, no, that's the whole ultimate. I know, doesn't seem particularly impressive. It really wasn't, but as I already mentioned, at this point in time, you didn't need 150 bonus damage. You know, Hunt on the Night is pretty good, and you can just run in and beat some people up. That does it. That is fine. But Night Stalker had one of the coolest Aghanim's effects, and honestly, I'm kind of sad he lost this one. I personally think this would be a much more interesting effect to have in modern Dota as well. His Aghanim Scepter made it so that he had flying vision. That's it. During the night. During the night. Not during the day, but during the night, Night Stalker had flying vision. So he could just reveal everything around himself in this huge area, making it very difficult to hide from him. And it gave him this like interesting role of just, well, just being like a fat tanky boy in the fights that's mostly just there to show you where the enemies are. But turns out that is quite useful. Flying vision or movement. Just vision. He had normal movement, but he had flying vision. We'll see it. We'll see it. Don't worry. It looks very funny. He gets this huge circle of just AoE vision. Yeah. And it was just a very popular item on the hero. You would almost always get it. Like, it was one of the core things that you were looking for. And it's one of those funny effects where I think it really, like, showcases the difference between Pop Dota and Pro Dota a little bit. Where in Pop Dota, this effect wasn't really that useful, to be completely honest, because, well, we sucked. But in Pro Dota, it was always incredibly dangerous. Also, 3 supports farming the jungle together. The poor fellas. Okay then. Oh no, Slaughter actually going for the bash. Also working towards that BKB. Not a big surprise there. Oh no. Did you put down the sentry, but you can't see up there? Like, I feel like there was a ward there. But, oh well. Okay. Oh, we're coming in. No, nothing.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Nothing too much there. Both teams just kind of playing it safe. I'm guessing the Urshaker's probably saving up for a Blink Dagger. That would be my guess, although, you know, who really knows? Quick little Fisher. We've got the damage output from the Night Stalker, and both teams are just kind of playing this keep away game. Although the Lich still using the sacrifice, refreshes his mana pool, and it just pulls back the creep wave, plays it safe, denies enemies some experience. I know I spent a lot of the early game talking about Lich, and then he hasn't really done anything. Like, he hasn't been that impressive. But keep in mind that Lich is really a lane controller. And outside of that, I mean, he's been dropping some fun ultimates. But he's primarily a lane controller. That's his main use.
Illusion.
Go ahead and take down this. Now, the game is getting to the point where Roshan is going to be considered. Not for the... nice. But for a very long time, the Dire was considered to be the strongest side compared to the Radiant. And do you guys know why? Chat. Why is the Dire better than the Radiant? That's right. Roshan placement. The Dire had a huge advantage because Roshan was closer to them, to their base, than was to the enemy base. And that made them really, really powerful. And as we go through these tournaments, we're going to see the map change repeatedly, with Roshan's position shifting around to many, many different spots until it finally settles into where it is today. But Roshan has spent a lot of time in that corner where he is right now. You can see it on the minimap. Right, he's like down here. I should not bring in the mouse, and I don't want to spoil anything. And so the Roshan side just had an advantage. Roshan was valuable, and having such an important asset just be more accessible made all the difference. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and pick up that invisibility. And it seems both teams again have just kind of slowed down for a little bit. Did Dire legitimately have a better win rate? Yeah. No, I'm not joking. Like, Dire had a huge advantage. This was just a thing. Everybody knew it as well. That's why back in the day as well, you had to choose between picking sides or picking first pick. Right, you would, at the start of the game, you would have a coin flip, and if you win the coin flip, you get to either pick the side of the map or you get to have first pick in the draft. which is essentially just saying you get to either play Dire or have first pick, as like an attempt to balance things out a little bit. Alright, Necro is down, so is the Enchantress, and it seems that we might be heading towards Roshan. Amplify damage. Oh, sorry, I don't know why I'm yawning so much. I woke up a little bit earlier than I would like to today, so maybe that's why, apologies. Roshan doesn't have ability icons. I guess there wasn't enough time for that. That's funny. Alright, Vengeful helping out a little bit. Oh, they're coming in. They want to stop this from happening, but Aegis has been picked up. TP out. Oh, Urshaker gonna be going down. Urshaker already has Blink Dagger though, so he doesn't really need anything else. Fear on the retreat. Bycut is sticking around just in case the assistance is needed. And gonna be... getting out of there. Alright. And just go ahead and heal up a little bit. So, now we have the Aghanim Scepter on the Night Stalker. It's not currently night though, so he actually doesn't get anything out of it. Yeah, no, that's how simple it is. I know, it's a really fantastic, very powerful ability, where half the time you just actually get no benefit. Oh, that's just how it goes sometimes, right? You can see the kind of like day and night cycle at the top.
Hello, Professor Baumi. Will this be on the final? Should I be taking notes?
Hey, C-Splash, thank you very much for the 51 months. No, this won't be on the final. But you should be taking notes for everything. This is your education, my friend. You shouldn't be playing around with this. God. Just because it's not on the exam doesn't mean it's not important. Slaughter about to get the level 3 ultimate, and yes, you get that at level 16. Same for Night Stalker. Now, I kind of do wonder what the game plan here is. Like, definitely this is a match with two teams that don't have, like, a conventional carry. Even for the time. Even for the time, you would have your conventional right-click boy, and you don't have that here. Oh, the double mana boots must be so nice. Invisibility. Well, smoke. But it'll do, it'll do. And... no. I don't know, I'm just kind of like waiting for something to happen, but right now, again, both teams are just kind of taking it a bit easy. I do wonder what they're farming towards. I would like to see the Necrolytes items. I would expect to see either like just full-on tanking or Radiance. There is... so a lot of the modern casting items just don't exist. Like Kaya doesn't exist, or Spell Lifesteal doesn't exist, or cooldown reduction doesn't exist, cast range doesn't exist. None of these things were actually a thing. So you needed to build your casting carry a bit differently. Oh, there's a Hex and a Pipe. Okay. So you would go for either utility, and that would be stuff like Hex or Blink Dagger, or you go Radiance. And then like tank up. There's a little stun there. And then they take down the Pugna. No big deal. I mean, the Blink Dagger is just so nice to have. Double damage is active. And try to pay attention to the minimap now. Do you see that huge, like, circle, like, of vision around the Night Stalker? The Night Stalker being pink. Like, it's a little subtle. It's a bit difficult to see on the minimap, but you can see it if you pay really close attention to it. You see how everything around them is revealed? That is the Night Stalker Aghanims. That's what you use it for. Again, just getting flying vision doesn't sound that impressive, but once you actually have it, you appreciate it like nothing else. Oh, it is so nice once you actually have this effect. Because you can't be surprised anymore. Nobody can hide anymore.
Radiant's top tower
It
is
just
under
takes
attack.
care of all of that. There we go.
Top tower has fallen.
Tower goes down. And we'll be leaving it at that, it seems. Armor formula was different. You can stack vanguards, right? So the armor formula wasn't actually that different back then. I think it wasn't even different at all. The Dota 2 armor formula went through some iterations, and then eventually I think they just like changed it back to what it is today. You can still stack vanguards today. It's not necessarily good, just like it wasn't really good back then, but you can still do it. Alright, so we've got the Slaughter with a Blink Dagger now, so that's more initiation for them, which is good. That's how they can win these fights. I mean, to be honest, most of the damage is going to be that burst, but they have a lot in that regard. Like, even the Crystal Maiden actually does a good amount of just sheer burst damage, which is really handy.
Radiant's middle tower is
Oh
under
my
attack.
god. This is always the worst nightmares. The freaking liches that keep denying for experience, even when... even when you're pushing. Can you stop doing that? We need the creeps. God damn it. That just kind of makes me mad. But yeah, Lich is a very high level for support here. Again, because of that E.
Radiant's bottom
This
tower
is an
under
ability.
attack.
I know it seems a bit inconspicuous, but it's incredibly powerful.
Radiant's middle
Alright,
tower
we're gonna
is
go ahead and
under
take down this tower.
Radiant's middle tower has
And it does
fallen.
seem like Nirvana is now looking to maybe make a play for the game, you know? Let's see if we can finish this. The knight is still active, which is always very good. Alright, we got a little bit of a nuke there. Oh, fun fact, I just remembered something about how you used to play Night Stalker, but the ultimate made it so that it's night, right? But if it's already night, then it just scoots the night back a little bit, right? Like it pauses the current night, has the Night Stalker night, and then goes back to the current night, like to the night that was before. Which means that during the night, oftentimes as Night Stalker, you just wanted to use the ultimate as much as possible. Because you could just extend the duration of the night. You just wanted to spam it all the time, so that it stays night for as long as possible. I'm not sure if that was something that was done in Pro Dota as well. I know this was kind of like the pop strategy. But in Pro Dota, you might want to care more. No, you can see Night Stalker has just actually got the ultimate on cooldown. Yeah, just gonna be extending the night. And honestly, once you have the level 3 ultimate, you actually get a lot of nighttime. You could spend a good solid like 2/3 of the game just in the night. Which, I mean, that's obviously very useful. Night Stalker has that Aegis. I think Aegis took a long time to run out during this era. Was it like 10 minutes? Aegis was something that's gotten nerfed quite a lot. Let me go ahead and just have a... check that out really quick. Change logs. Yep. 6.55. Roshan now reclaims the Aegis of the Immortal when he respawns 10 minutes after his death, if it was not used yet. Which means that you could carry an Aegis for 10 minutes. And once it goes away, you can just kill Roshan again, because it only goes away after Roshan respawns. And Roshan always respawns after 10 minutes. Now, Roshan didn't have a lot of the stuff that he drops today. Of course, there was no consumable Aghanims, there was no Refresher Shard, there was no Aghanims Shard. But he did have Cheese, which I believe dropped after the 3rd Roshan. So you could get some bonus cheese. Cheese. But yeah, no, 10 minutes Aegis. Very long duration on that. Remember what I said about the mana? Look at the Slaughter. 3.2 mana region right now. Level 17, nearly level 18, right? Has been just farming the entire game. And has a Crystal Maiden aura on top of that. Just simply doesn't have any mana pool. That's just a limitation of the time. Back then, we did not have the technology for mana regeneration items. Night Stalker picking up an Urn of Shadows, which I think actually offered a little bit of mana regen, which is nice. Alright, Slaughter now heading for an Assault Cuirass. Moonshard didn't exist. So, could be in theory a Mjolnir, but it's an Assault Cuirass. And to be honest, so Slaughter, you know, is pretty similar in its role to what you would expect from a modern Slaughter, which is more of this like fighting core as opposed to a traditional right-click carry. But to be honest, like just having the bash chance, it's not that bad. Alright, Fisher. I'm not that impressed by this Earthshaker and his Fishers, I'm not gonna lie. Alright, we got a hook shot in. Force Staff out immediately, and seems like Kaboo gonna be kind of trapped in there. And we've got Picard working on the Enchantress. The Enchantress is trapping herself, and now she's trapped by the Earthshaker. There were many spots on the map where you could get trapped like that. There were very many paths that just went one way and not the, like, didn't have any, I guess, like, split ends. Only just a single path. And that made it so that you could just get trapped. Oh, why didn't you just kill the Pugna right there? Okay. In the meantime, we've got the Necrophos just standing strong here. Night Stalker seems to be okay. Vengeful Spirit finally going down. The Radiant is chasing away the Dire, but I just don't know if they actually can. Oh no, buddy. Alright, I don't know if they can really get that much out of it. It seems that they are getting the Lich at the very least, but... Well, it was a big fight, but not much happened, to be completely honest. A bunch of supports died. Big oof. Necrolite now picking up some armor, which is a very good idea here. Gotta keep in mind you're going up against the Slaughter. So minus armor is a difficult thing to deal with. Alright. I'm just gonna go back to grinding up a little bit. Did Urn not have charges? No, it should have charges. I think. Wait. Let me have a quick little look here. No. Should have charges. I'm guessing that the Night Stalker is just out of Urn of Shadows charges. Or maybe it doesn't display it. That could also very well be a thing. Keep in mind that this was kind of like a beta and all of that. Okay. Yeah. It seems that we've got Tai Lu now ramping up to maybe get a bit of a fight done. Oh, swap. Earthshaker goes in immediately, gets a big stun on too. There's the Slaughter off with the follow-up. Lich ultimate is bouncing. Oh, this is a dream Lich ultimate. I think that was a full however many bounces. I honestly have no idea how many Lich had at the time. Nirvana is going to continue chasing down this Clockwork. They get that kill. Of course, the vision is provided by the Night Stalker. Picard now on retreat, but going to be picked off by the Reaper Scythe. Awoke standing strongly here. The slow is not that significant at this point in time, but Magic Missile is the world's greatest ability. Buyback from the Slaughter. He is here. He wants to keep fighting. I don't know. Seems like they're not going to go too much for anything here. Both teams retreating. Blink Daggers online on Picard. Like, without BKB, do you really want to go in? It's funny, but the Radiant side is really just winning these fights by tanking through it. This goes against all of my, like, modern sensibilities here. Because the Radiant just doesn't have anything that actually deals damage. Right? Like what do they have that's a damage dealer? But you just didn't need one. You just didn't need that much damage to kill something. You see, the Lich it's 47 minutes and the Slaughter has 2000 HP. I mean, like, think about that. If we had a 47-minute match in modern Dota, how much HP would you expect a hero like Slaughter to have? I would bet it's a little bit more than 2000. Alright, Night Stalker, 2500, picking up an MKB now. Alright. Death Timer, Slaughter buyback. Death Timer will suck next death. Buys back after Reaper. Does Death Timer stack during this time? Yeah, so that was definitely a thing where... How did buyback work at this time? No, I need to make sure I Google buyback Dota, else I get a whole bunch of weird crypto stuff probably. Alright. Buyback. Let's go. Oh! Wow, guys. So at this point in time, Buyback had a tremendous 4-minute cooldown. Wow. That's crazy. Just what a man. What a cooldown. Now I'm trying to find out where we can find something about buyback. We work buyback cost scaling, so we know the cost scaling. Okay, I don't know for sure what happened after you bought back, if there was any punishment for it. I cannot find any information on this. I think that there just wasn't a punishment for buying back. I can... Yeah, in 6.79 they added that buying back makes it so that you can't gain unreliable gold until your normal respawn time finishes. And that after buying back, 25% of the remaining respawn time is added to your next death. So that was something that was... But that's 6.79. That is quite a few patches away. That's not in this tournament. This is 6.72D. No, from what I can tell, and I make no promises that this is accurate, but from what I can tell, there's no punishment for buyback at this point in time. And it's actually only got a 4-minute cooldown. But what is probably worth mentioning here is I can tell you how much buyback cost. Buyback cost 100 gold plus the level times 1.5 times the time of the match times 15. So if we have a look at this really quick, we've got a level 18 Slaughter, right? So it's like 100 and then plus 18 squared, right? Times 1.5 and then that plus 51 times 15. So buyback would have been 1351 gold for the Slaughter if he dies right now. That's a lot of money at the time. You don't have that much money floating unless you're really saving up for it. Alright, we're gonna clap. They're gonna go for the Necrophos right away, and Necro's dead. That's just... This is why Slaughter's ultimate is and will always be one of the best abilities in the game. They take down Faith as well. They catch the other two, and that is just straight up a team wipe. Wow. Seemingly out of nowhere, they catch out Tai Lu and collapse on them. And that's real bad for them, I guess. that's rough. Alright then. they're gonna go ahead and push down this tower. They don't have that much damage output. This is where not building so much damage definitely slows you down a bit. So I wouldn't expect them to get much more than a barracks here. In modern Dota, I would expect the game to end right now. As in, they just go for the ancient. Okay. Well, it seems like they're gonna just settle for this ranged melee racks. And they're gonna go for the bottom racks here as well. That's definitely smarter, yeah. Just get 2 lanes. Still a huge fight for them. And now Tai Lu's back. So Tai Lu needs to figure out a way to defend and somehow win a fight. And this is just where the problems begin. Because you don't have the power you need to take on the Slaughter. And you don't really have anything you can do to get that power, I think. I mean, you need the Necro to really pull through there, and I'm not sure if the Necro can. Now, something that might be interesting to note here. There's no upgrade for Vanguard. You might be wondering, why isn't anybody building an Abyssal Blade? You didn't build Abyssal Blade with Vanguard back then. You build it with a Sacred Relic. Bastion's Sacred Relic, that's how you build Abyssal Blade. Then you might be like, okay, what about Crimson Guard? Crimson Guard is not in the game. There's no upgrade to Vanguard. You just build a Vanguard because it's good. You don't build a Vanguard because you tried to turn it into anything else. Alright, Necrolite picking up the Shiva's Guard and probably a BKB. I assume that's what we're working towards. But Abyssal Blade was an item that was quite difficult to acquire, to be honest. Had a difficult build-up, very expensive, but also very valuable. Gave you a lot of damage mostly. Alright, Assault Cross is on the Slaughter. So they're gonna need to figure out something to do against Pike Cut. They probably need to just snipe him out with that Reaper Scythe, but I don't know if they have enough burst damage to really kill a Slaughter from full like that. And if there's ever an active BKB, then that's gonna pretty much shut down any opportunity you've got there. I'm gonna blink forward from the Slaughter. Are you planning to do another Wiggle tournament? Oh, I feel like we gotta. Because Marcy is here now, right? Oh yeah, we gotta do another Wiggle tournament. For sure. Yeah, now that you say it, definitely. Yeah, when do you guys wanna? When do we do it? Oh yeah, we'll definitely do one. 3 new heroes? No, did we not do one? With Dawnbreaker? I'm pretty sure Dawnbreaker was. In the last one we did. Now. Right now. No. Not gonna be like that. Alright. Nirvana. Gonna be losing the Crystal Maiden, but they get the Venge in return. The BKBs are active and they're coming in. They wanna get the Necro. There's the Dunk. Necro still tanking. Finally goes down to the Earthshaker. Earthshaker will be picked off by Evoke. Enchantress on the retreat, but there's not that much she can do. And it seems that Pikeart is just here to finish off this game. 2 more kills. It's just the Enchantress left. I mean, Enchantress is powerful and all of that, but I don't know what she can do on her own. And it seems that's gonna be it. GG is going to be called. Tai Lu does it. And yeah, look at that. Nirvana actually pulling through with their funny 2-2-1 strat. Ironically enough, I think a big advantage they had here is that the 2-2-1 strat left them with 2 carries. While Tai Lu only had 1 really. And there goes the Ancient. Yeah, look at the little end screen here. Like, this is really interesting to me. Highest GPM in the game. 13, 2, and 8 with 237 last hits. It's the Night Stalker and it's got a GPM of 460. Like, that's just not that much, right? Overall, I would like to have a quick little look at the scorecard here. All right, but you gotta look at like kind of the resources you have. The Vengeful Spirit had 126 GPM. Poor Pugna really didn't do very well with the 300 GPM. Picking up a Hex here as well as that Mecha. And yeah, if you just look at the items, right, it's like basically all utility. All utility and defense. The only, strictly speaking, offensive item bought in the entire game. No, I guess, no. There's really only one, and that is the MKB. Everything else is either like utility or defensive. It's just really interesting to think about, right? Anyway. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If there's any particular game you would like me to take a look at, please let me know. Although we are kind of going in... What do you call that? Time accurate order? Chat. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting a word right now. Chronological. There we go. We're going in chronological order. So, you know, I don't want to like suddenly do TI3. We'll do TI3 when we get to TI3, but right now we're still doing TI1. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you found this interesting. Please leave me feedback on how you would like me to make adjustments to this so I can keep improving it. And I'll see you guys around. Have a good day, everybody.